Welcome back, everybody. This is the World Business Forum in Milan 2022 edition. And Renée, Richardson, Gosline, MIT professor, is joining me for an interview. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So you were just at the stage of the World Business Forum. What was the topic that you touched on and major highlights?
Sure. So I talked about customer experience strategy, but with regard to that, bringing in behavioral economics, so understanding human decision making, as well as AI, understanding how AI, artificial intelligence, affects human decision making.
So your specialties are customer experience and AI.
Yes.
Why is it important to have a good strategy from this point of view if you are a business?
There is no experience that you, your customers, or I am having that isn't in some way affected by technology today, right? Whether it is what we decide to do in our leisure time, how we drive, what route we take, what media we consume, to the way in which we work, especially with COVID and people working from home and having to work internationally. And so for this reason, digital transformation is a critical lens through which to view how we're making decisions, how your customers are making decisions. But when I think about this, the dominant conversation has really been about using AI to remove friction, to take away human labor and to embrace automaticity, to make everything sort of rapid, automatic, faster, frictionless. And what I talked about is that that's important when we think about the fact that most people have way too much on their minds, and AI can make things faster, simpler, and anticipate choice. But at the same time, it is too simple to simply say, let us be as frictionless as possible. Rather, when we think about truly breakthrough customer experience, it involves understanding when frictionless approaches are beneficial and actually when friction is beneficial. And so that really is the skill we need to develop when we are creating digitally transformed customer experience. When do we remove friction, and actually when is friction a good thing to allow our customers to get more value, to allow for creativity, to reduce harm, and to allow us to really think at those important moments.
So you just mentioned the pandemic. Do you think the pandemic somehow changed forever the digital experience and customers also?
Absolutely. I think that there were things that people couldn't conceive of as being done virtually that now are done virtually by default, right? So it has changed our willingness to adopt certain technologies in a way that I think is not going backward, that's for sure. At the same time, it has made us so dependent upon being able to constantly be plugged in, right? Because we couldn't be face to face, that I think the pendulum needs to swing back a little bit, where we start to understand better balance of when to unplug, when to turn off, and when to really not constantly be reliant on the sort of automaticity of technology. That's important as well.
Do you think the business community received and receives the message?
Well, it's always difficult to say to a group of executives, hey, being frictionless, which everyone has talked about, is not the panacea that everyone thinks it is. I think people get a little nervous because adoption of AI is kind of the cool thing. It's a little bit like, back in high school where someone has the coolest, latest thing, everyone wants to have it as well. There is a lot of AI hype and a lot of, sort of a desire to signal innovation by uncritically adopting AI as much as possible. So it can be a little bit disconcerting to say, hang on, pause, let's think about this. Having said that, I think the group in the room was really energetic. And I think that they understood and walked with me through the examples to understand Yeah, indeed, there are times, certainly when frictionless approaches are optimal, but there are actually some times when adding friction can actually be beneficial. And also importantly, we should be mindful of asymmetric frictionless strategies, meaning it's easy for customers to get in, but it's hard for them to get out when they want to. That kind of trapping, I do believe that they understood that we need to be mindful of creating experiences that feel like traps.
So is this also the main message you'd like to spread among the business community in order to be able to face the future challenges and of course digital transformation and many more?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I think it's an exciting time, and sometimes in our excitement, we are reluctant to stop and think. But that's precisely when we must do that, because we cannot put the genie back in the bottle when it comes to AI, right? And so this is precisely the time that we need to be having these more nuanced discussions. And so this idea of, anti-tech versus, tech or AI as a panacea, I think is sort of too facile, too simple, that it's actually more nuanced than that. And those who will be able to really be leaders get it.
Great. Thank you very much. Renée Richardson, Gosline, MIT professor. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.